Path of Exile is hailed by many people as the true successor to Diablo 2. So I started thinking, why have I barely touched the Path of Exile series at all? Well, this game is just decision paralysis in gaming form. Path of Exile 2 might be the most complicated ARPG ever made. Now I know this game is insanely popular and I want to see why, but first things first, we need to pick a class. I figured that since I have no fucking clue what I'm doing, I might as well pick something that sounds cool, and I've been told mercenaries are pretty strong, so let's go with that. Seeing as it's a whole new shining, shimmering and splendid world, I can't rely on my normal elite through the roof ultra refined over the top epic gaming skills as I usually can in one of my Diablo 2 videos. I get painfully reminded of this when I die to the tutorial boss. The second time around I do manage to make it through, but man, what a start. I sure hope I don't die a lot this run, that would be embarrassing. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Just like any other run in any other game, things start out by picking my first skill. In true pacifist fashion, I figured that a lot of problems can be solved by shooting a live grenade into them. Skills are made with gems instead of on a skill tree. Your gem has a level, and the higher level you go, you unlock more skills. There is a giant menu that shows you all of them, but I got insanely lost in that massive amount of choice, so I just took the easy version. One of the hardest parts of playing a new game to me is not knowing what you can and can't do. There are a lot of different ways people learn things. For me, that is just by fucking around a ton and seeing what happens, which in this case turned out to be a lot of dying. On our journey to the Red Veil, I encounter Bearer of the Rotten Pack, whom I promptly kill for some wolf head. That grants us 10 cold resistance. Hot stuff all around. The Devourer ended up dropping me my second uncut skill gem, allowing me to upgrade my explosive grenades. While feeling very weird at first after being used to skills leveling up at your level up, I did fall in love with this system throughout this run, cause it allows you to just spec into new skills straight away, instead of slowly starting to level them and having them catch up over time. Later on in the run, you'll see me get into a few skills and just start them out at the same level as my main skills are. Massive upside if you ask me. Love this system. I beat another boss and get some level ups, which brings me to the passive tree. I'm not even going to deny any allegations here. I have no fucking clue how anyone finds their way in this the first time around, and I just used a guide to get me going. There are a billion options. In the meanwhile on screen, I have just been working my way through the act, slaying a few dreamers and fulfilling their nightly wish of death. I don't know if that's what they actually wished for, but I figured I might as well settle their ghostly love score while I'm here. Piling on the very thinly veiled musical references. I've made a ton of references to Candlemass in other videos, but how could I not mention the death magic and doom dealt to me by the living right here? I'm definitely not above picking the low hanging fruit though. He ended up dropping a bunch of gems and a rune, which felt very familiar and new at the same time. No clue if any of it is any good though, which probably was the hardest thing about the whole run. The boss of Act 1 is this cool looking wolf here. He isn't very hard to beat or anything. The only thing that caught me off guard is that I was playing around him standing right there. But apparently there's two of them, with the second one catching me completely off guard. I just didn't expect it at all, which turned out to be a major theme of this run. Dying to things I didn't expect, which makes sense. It's a new game and all. Some bosses have way too much going on, which becomes relevant much later on in the video. For now though, the second time around there was only one of him, making it much easier to dodge, resulting in us winning the fight. Drops wise, he ended up giving a bunch of orbs and a rare crossbow, which makes for a nice moment to talk about how I treated items here. I just spammed the shit out of everything I found. If it gave a mod to a thing, I was tossing it on there. I have no clue what the best routes of crafting are at all, so I was just constantly switching out items and trying to put more affixes on every single thing that might be slightly relevant. I just aimed for more damage at all times, which kind of fucked me over at the end of the run, because I wasn't so much a glass cannon as just getting glassed all the time. For my second skill, I decided to go with gas grenade, which is just the poison version of the explosive grenade I'm using as my main skill. During my Act 2 adventures, both Raja and Balbala end up dropping level 6 skill gems. I didn't know if it was better to upgrade my existing skills or just get into as many skills as possible early. My honest guess is that it's just a matter of preference, and I prefer keeping things simple if I can. So all I'm doing with the new skill gems is upgrading the skills I already have. Jamanra ended up taking me a few tries, but nothing too bad. I did get really confused during questing here though. He thinks he's Darut and has a sandstorm going on during the fight. After the fight, you go down the stairs to find an area called Jamanra Sandstorm. Keep that in mind for later. First we have something else to do. And that something is getting our Ascendancy. Just like everything else in this game, it sounds crazy complicated. But while picking an Ascendancy sounds very intellectual, I can dumb it down very easily. Picking an Ascendancy is just picking your class. So while we started out as a mercenary, after defeating Rattlecage, the Earthbreaker here with our crushing blows, we get to pick what we want to become for the rest of the run. I haven't tried all of them yet, but from what I have been told and found online, every class has 3 options here, meaning that you end up with not just the 12 classes you can pick at the Rope Enthusiast convention that starts out the game, but end up with 36 options to pick from, which is still less than the most criminally unknown game in the genre, Grim Dawn. But I'm getting ahead a few videos by mentioning that. If you haven't checked out Grim Dawn, give it a try, it's amazing. Anyway, our options as a mercenary are Gambling Legionnaire, Tactician and Witch Hunter. On first glance, I don't understand what either the Legionnaire or the Tactician do at all, so I decide to go and become a Witch Hunter. The deeper I get into this game, the more it feels like the loot is just an incentive. The real objective is running a population control program for the animals of Ray class. See for instance this bone-based mammoth over here. It looks very sweet, but it is a lot of paperwork to have one of those walking around. Like a normal person, I don't like doing paperwork, so I just throw a ton of gumption and grenades at it instead. With the old mammoth taken care of, it's time to go hunting for a snake, which I find in the form of Queen Kabbalah, so I take care of her and take the Book of Speculation as my reward, granting me 2 more skill points, of the passive kind, which are the ones that go in that giant skill tree. I'm not claiming I'm a massive pro or anything, but a few hours into the run, the game is becoming less and less daunting and starts becoming pretty manageable. I'm sure I'm still missing out on tons of stuff, and I'm sure after a couple Path of Exile 2 videos I'll look back at me writing this and be like, you fool of a Tuk, you knew nothing. But for now, I feel like I'm getting the gist of things. One thing I like a lot is that because of all you can do to improve your items, I ended up picking up every single crossbow, even the normal ones, just to roll the dice on getting good mods on them. That does come with the downside of lacking experience in the game. I have no clue what I'm looking for. Now damage and resistances are easy enough to figure out. It's the same as in any other game. The questions come in the other stats. Do I take damage over resistances on non-weapon gear? How important is energy shield? Is armor counting as elemental any good? How important is accuracy rating? I'm pretty sure it doesn't count for grenades, but I have no field of reference at all on any of it. A bit deeper into Act 2, you deal with a giant statue. It's not a very hard fight, but I needed a segue into getting the Horn of Vastiri. This gigantic quest item wants to be blown to put out a sandstorm. So I went to the only sandstorm I have seen so far throughout the game, Jamun-Ra's sandstorm. And before you ask, yes, I found it weird that I had to replay a part of the quest to get there, but it's not something that triggered me too much, cause, I mean, let's be real, milking out repeating content until the end of time is basically the lifeblood of the genre. So even though I thought it was strange, I worked my way through the small paths again and made my way back into the Jamun-Ra fight, and yes, I found it weird that I had to fight the same boss again. Anyway, after dealing with him, I went down to the sandstorm and there was nothing. I couldn't do a single thing down at the sandstorm. Having circled around a bit, I decided to walk back up the stairs and ask Jamun-Ra, who was being a super nice guy and waiting for me to answer any questions if need be. He told me to go to the front of the caravan, where there was nothing special, just like the other times I was here. So it turns out that I need to go to the front of the caravan after using the map to get to Trader's Passage, where it turns out there is another sandstorm going on where you can finally sound the horn and clear it out of your inventory. Torgul the Defiler ends up dropping a bunch of tier 2 items. I'm assuming those are better, I don't know in what way, but I'm just tossing that on the pile of things I'm sure I'll figure out eventually. Even though he was friendly earlier when we were looking for the sandstorm, Jamun-Ra is the second act boss in the game. I ended up dying on the first phase of his fight a few times, mostly due to just not knowing what was going on. Strangely enough, even though the second part of the fight felt very chaotic to play with things just happening all over the place, I cleared it first try like the god gamer I am. Little did I know though that this was just the game warming up and that the real fights were still to come. I figured that with 2 acts done and 2 acts to go, I would be about halfway through the game. I figured wrong. I'll get into talking about Act 3 soon enough, but I just want to mention that this was a 20-hour playthrough, putting it at about twice as long as it takes me to do a Diablo run. And just like there, after the Desert Act comes the never-ending Jungle Act. Half of my 20 hours playing were spent in Act 3. I'm sure it'll go faster in future runs, but dear fucking god does this act never end. That is not to say there isn't anything cool or beautiful going on. Cause while I haven't mentioned it and a few other things at all yet, I do feel like I should point out that this game looks fantastic. Even on medium settings like I have it. Making our way through the jungle, it is time for the main quest of the run. There is a very rare animal here, a chimera, and it needs to die. Zyclusian, the chimera has a fun mechanic going on where they land on a part of the arena and you have to vandalize it to make them fall down. The other fun thing they have going on is that they drop a rare construct crossbow. Havercore turns out to be a massive upgrade for me. It has very nice enhanced physical damage, rocketing it right up to 30 to 122 physical damage. To add on to this, there is also a bunch of elemental damage and critical hit chance. The only downside to this crossbow is that I can't equip it straight away, cause I'm not level 38 yet. Having the impulse control of a crack-addled hamster, hare, or dare I even say rabbit, I immediately ignore the option that I might fight something better along the way while grinding for this and start cramming in every available resource I have. I'm basically giving this crossbow the Bonnie Blue treatment, cause everything that fits is getting in there. Back out in the jungle again, I do some more unrequested animal culling. Now, I would do it for free, but I'll take the book of specialization that comes as its reward as well. Act 2 wasn't the only part of the game where I got confused. During the Tribal Vengeance quest, you come across an area that very obviously resembles a boss arena. There is a big open area, lots of fancy looking stuff giving it all the right vibes. And even on your map it stands out as being a huge part of the zone. I believed with every fiber of my body that this would be a boss fight. After spending a few minutes running around in here, I figured there was a bug or something causing the boss not to spawn. It's only been the better part of 2 years in early access after all. This however turned out to not be the case at all. Instead, it turns out that the boss arena is just a few blocks down the road in a quiet little secluded area all on its own. The boss fight itself is pretty sweet. There is tons of cool looking stuff flying around, and the boss even drops loot upon its demise. A great placeholder to distract from the animal culling that will return in full force next act, cause damn will Mother Nature take a hit from the glass pipe there. While wondering to myself about what in the hell that metaphor is trying to say, I just keep on working my way through the act, leading me to the second of my Ascendancy quests, cause the skill points for your Ascendancy need to be done in specific quests. You can't just use your weapon passives to fill them up. The quest did not quite go as planned, which is to say that I got completely slaughtered just a few seconds in. So as they say in the world of corporate, we'll put a pin in that for now, which is just corporate office talk for shut up and never mention it again, you foul peasant. While having done a few hours of grinding that just got edited out and continuing on with the questing, I reached level 38 during the Legacy of the Val quest, which means it's time for my new crossbow. I wasn't lacking on the damage front at all, but that doesn't mean I'm going to politely decline an almost 200 damage upgrade. With damage solved for probably the rest of the run, the only thing I need to work on is either dodging or my survivability, cause at this point no matter what is hitting on me, I am dying because of it. The innuendo during the fight with the Queen of Filth is not lost on me, however I will not joke about that, cause I am pure and innocent of mind. Drops wise she did nothing of the special sort by the way, figured I'd mention it. At this point I well and truly feel like I have the hang of the basics. So it's time to start adding on more stuff and levels of complexity. To start out with the lowest of fruit, I finally start getting into some skills cause I have the skill gems laying around anyway. The first skill I'm getting into is Voltaic Grenade, which is the same as all the other grenades, but this time with blackjack and hookers, and lightning. On my way to the Molten Vault, the first unique of the run finally drops when a pair of unique straw sandals falls to the ground. These are luminous pace, they have a bit of movement speed and make your energy shield start regenerating at a bit of a slowed pace, but make it start at twice the speed. I didn't have the impression these were very good at all, but only one way to find out for sure, so I equipped them nonetheless. A Val chest dropped the second unique in the form of a keelhaul linen belt. Now I'm not sure how fat someone has to be able to keelhaul with their belt, but that is none of my concern. The belt itself seems pretty sweet. What it does is it makes you heal less from your potions, but it recharges the flasks quicker, which means you get more potion usage over time. Seeing as how I'm a massive glass cannon, this seems perfect cause the potions basically fully heal me anyway, and now I just get more of them. At this point of the run, I have gotten fully addicted to just making as many weapons as I can, spending all my resources on every single crossbow I find, to then sell them to the NPC when they suck ass. The High Priest of the Sun Ketsuli is the first of many knowledge and experience checks the rest of the game is going to throw at me. Now while there are definitely deaths coming that are totally my fault for being a dumbass, a lot of them are also just me getting got by things I have just never seen before, like this giant death beam. Just to show it off again, the giant death beam that I definitely died to only once. Besides that though, I didn't have a lot of trouble with him, so after his sunset, his items dropped. Making my way back to the past, I discovered quite quickly that a big difficulty spike happens here. I hadn't died to regular enemies in a long ass time, but here death came in threes, and just a few more just to make sure we counted to 3 correctly. Not to 5 though, that's too many deaths. At the end of this area I encountered Viper Napwazi, who I think is one of the hardest boss fights in the entire game. This is the first of 3 bosses that I did a lot of dying on. Between the 3 hardest fights, I think this is going to be the most punishing, even after multiple playthroughs. There is just a lot going on. The arena keeps getting smaller throughout the fight, and while the attacks from the side have an obvious tell, that doesn't mean you have an obvious escape or the reflexes to deal with it. So enjoy some music and some suffering, and I will see you all in a bit. Now for the final attempt you saw me changing the color of my cursor, cause with how much there is happening in this fight I just kept losing track of it. Call it a skill issue, call it old age, whatever you want, I call it supporting the LGBT community. No matter what you decide on, it did help cause when I switched my cursor color to pink, I beat the fight on my next attempt. Having defeated the clawless Viper at the temple, it is time to continue on with the questing, which is easy enough with my neat little quest log. That will definitely be less on screen once I know the game better. It's telling me to sell the glorious idol, so I do, and nothing happens. Neat. Just like every other act in the existence of gaming, Act 3 has a boss. Who would have thought? I know, it's wild. But here we are. He is called Doriani, but that's irrelevant, cause he's really easy, and now he's dead. Or, well, he would be, but apparently this game has a story or something. I don't know, I don't pay attention to that. His drops weren't very good, but that's okay. As long as you keep gambling on item rolls, you will end up with something beautiful, which in this case turns out to be Rift Core. After giving this the old blue treatment, it ended up having a lot of damage, which is better than not having as much damage. So I make the obvious switch. I socketed it with a cold and fire damage rune by the way. It's all I have left at this point. My quest to quell them all continues on when a turtle ends up being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Just a little while later the game does end up deciding to return the favor. I saw the counter, I just didn't care, so I died. The essence of fear manifested the third and final unique of the game. Bristleboar, the unique leather vest, does a bunch of things. On the one hand, it dawns on me with this one that uniques have a mix of upsides with a downside, making you have to work around them, which is a very interesting puzzle on its own. But I get the distinct impression that this does mean that great rares are just flat out better. Remember the thing we wouldn't talk about again? The second ascension? Well, we took the pin out, deleted some rare cool looking animals and powered our way through while being very over leveled. It was very enjoyable for one of the parties involved, which works for me, cause it was me doing the wrecking. The 2 more Ascendancy points went into cool sounding stuff in the passive tree. I have no idea what Culling Strike does, but it ended up being the inspiration for the culling theme of the video. So points well spent if I do say so myself, which I do. I figured this was also a great time to show what my passive tree is looking like. As you can tell on the right, I ended up closing the guide I used and instead just typed grenade into the search bar, which made things much more feasible. I'm sure I fucked up in some way or another. I'll cry a few extra tears into my pillow tonight to celebrate. So let's move on to the final part, the finale if you will. On Shrike Island there lives a bird, and while I could write a whole epos about how I died to him exactly once, the sword is mightier than the pen, and the grenade launcher is the mightiest of them all. So Gaping Birdo gets to explode all over the place, just not in the good way. The final piece of the puzzle my guy told me to get was Herald of Ash, but as you can see from it being 50 shades of red on the number there, I am lacking in the strength department. So we'll need to go look for 11 more of that. I have perfect dex and am dumb as shit with 48 intelligence. The rest of my stats seem fine. The fire resistance seems low, but we already had a bunch of fire based bosses and are now on a cluster of islands, which doesn't scream fire damage to me, so I'm not worried about it. A weird thing happened along the way. I went and did stuff, and when I loaded up the game for the next recording session, the exceptional idol turned out to be a gremlin, cause it's back. Was I the only one who thought those movies were fucking terrifying as a kid, by the way? With exceptional post-haste, I sold the idol to Oswald back in Ziggurat, and nothing happened again. I'm just going to assume this quest is broken and move on with my life. The fastest way to get those points of strength I needed turned out to be by actually doing my quests, which also got the items out of my inventory. Cause for some godforsaken reason the developers thought it was a good idea that you aren't able to toss quest items. Dear developers, please don't protect me from my own stupidity. I am a manly man, and getting told no goes against the idea that I am a massively hung Chad. One quick demonstration of how I treated every single piece of lore in this game later. I got an improvement to my potions from a statue. 30% increased life is the perfect upgrade, cause it means I now have great potions with double the recharging speed thanks to my belt. Most of the rest of the act went fine and dandy. I encountered some new game mechanics and attacks I didn't expect, reminding me that I am a fucking noob at this game. But besides that, most of Act 4 was a lot easier than Act 3, and I took no prisoners. Along the way I reached enough strength to use Herald of Ash, which was sweet. What it does is if you deal too much damage to an enemy, it explodes and deals damage like explosions tend to do. I don't really have a lot to mention on the next rare species of animal I guided towards the afterlife, except that it is a giant shark, and I love sharks. I find them to be some of the coolest animals on the planet. We should get an action RPG that has you going through an aquarium or something. There are some insane sea animals out there. That same game should have a heavy focus on dinosaurs as well, cause it's 2026 and besides Dino Crisis we still don't have a good fucking dinosaur game. Having set fin to the shark, I also took out a mermaid, which was pretty easy. Not a lot to talk about here, so I'm not going to. Next up, we get hit with the full force of nostalgia. This island looks like a bright and happy place, but it's just the Den of Evil revisited. It even has the great part of the den that everyone loves, where you spend way too much time looking for the final enemy. As for your reward, you get access to trading, but I don't like people, so that's the end of that. Next on the list of fantastic beasts and how to kill them is the blind beast, which is blind. I love fighting the blind, they don't know what they are doing. Anyway, easy fight. Moving on. Just a bit ago, I talked about how islands don't make me think of fire. Well, guess who's wrong? Apparently there are volcanic warrens on these islands. The boss here is called Magma Nor the Molten. I don't know why though, he doesn't seem very molten to me. I got scared here for a bit with the whole no fire resist thing. But it turns out that most of Act 4 is just really easy, and I just smashed this guy no problem. Moving away from the fiery parts, I realized I had the Jin Barrier in my inventory, which won't grant me Ascendancy skill points, which is weird to me. Why would I ever bother with this if I don't get anything for it anyway? I don't have a natural inclination to go exploring or anything, so it just went into the stash. Torvian, Hand of the Savior, has the most broken attack in the game. Yes, ladies and gentleflaps, Mr. Handyman here has the power of blocking your entire screen. I get what they were going for and love the idea, but I was mostly just annoyed that I couldn't see shit every time he did this attack. He didn't do it often or anything, and it's probably fine as is, but I just hate getting my view blocked in video games. And that was it, the last of the easy boss fights. We only have 2 or 4 depending on how you are counting to go, so let's dive in. Remember when I talked about the Viper in Act 3, I mentioned how I think that will be the most difficult boss in future runs, cause it's an actual hard fight. Benedictus, first Herald of Utopia, is the opposite of that. This entire guy is just a huge knowledge check. If you know how to fight him, I can't imagine having a lot of trouble here. I didn't have that knowledge. I should mention that after a couple attempts I decided to grab some lightning resist from my stash. Most of my deaths here were just not knowing how to do things though. Boy, that was fun. I love losing a ton of knowledge rolls, it felt very satisfying. And with Benedictus now being the first dead Herald of Utopia. It is time for the final boss, and oh boy is it one of the bosses of all time. Where we just had a knowledge check to see if you know how to survive the attacks. Tvakai, the chieftain, is just a giant stat, build and gear check. The culmination of Act 4 is made up of 3 parts, the easy part, the fun part, and the chaotic part where there are just a million things happening at the same time. Allow me to explain them. Still being happy with how aptly my naming convention describes the first part of the fight. I called this the easy part. I did end up dying here a few times, but that was mostly just because I got bored of having to do this over and over again every time I died on the other 2 parts. He has a slam, he tosses some rocks around and has some skill points into leap attack. It's all very fun and games. The only problem I had with this part is that I had to rewatch the intro every single time, which got old quick. After being bullied enough, the chieftain goes and trips, turning him into Tvakai, the Fallen. Now while I love remembering the Fallen, which in this case means remembering myself, cause I died a lot here. Seriously, a lot. And I did it because of everything. This fight has fire raining from the sky, spikes coming out of the ground, and the guy just hits like a truck. After a few attempts I did start to clear my way through this further and further, and after a few attempts I made it to the final phase. And sorry to say it, I didn't enjoy this part of the fight at all. There is just so much shit going on. Look at this, there's a sun exploding on screen. There are spikes everywhere, the floor is on fire. We have to watch this intro again. The boss is trying to cut our face off and wear it as a thong. The sun exploded and now there is lava falling from the sky. The boss can aim huge spikes right at you. There is lightning coming from the sky. There are random explosions happening. We have to watch the stupid intro cutscene again. Apparently he has a hentai arm. There are summons. He leap attacks at you at the speed of who knows what. The floor goes and turns green. Don't ask me what it does, I don't know. And to finish things off, there's also a bunch of dragons flying around. There is so much going on. This entire fight felt impossible, but for all the wrong reasons. It didn't feel challenging. It just felt like a massive clusterfuck of shit being thrown at you. Did I mention I was sick of this cutscene? I spent hours on this fight, just dying over and over again. I even switched servers, cause surely this had to be their fault somehow. It didn't help, I just started dying on the first part of the fight instead, which is neat, cause now I get to watch the intro again faster. My resolve to finish the run was falling, but unfortunately this was done on softcore, which means I don't have any excuses to not finish the fight, cause that would make me a little bitch. So I did the only reasonable thing and just looked online how to do this fight. And it turns out the solution is very easy. It turned out I have a criminally low life total, with people recommending anywhere from 1200 to 1400, whereas I am there on my first playthrough getting one shot on a very flimsy 900 something. The wonderful crafting system allowed me to very easily fix that, so I put sockets into every single thing that would fit them and put runes that give me life into said sockets. I also ended up gambling boots that gave me 93 maximum life and some life regeneration, and after putting a socket in those as well, which had me thinking about how a pair of boots can have only one socket. Seriously, how does that work? Is our character a shoe fetishist with a preference for whichever way he naturally has his downstairs hanging? Are we racist to either left or right shoes? Are we putting half a hole in each? We are wearing 2 shoes, how do we only get one socket? Having spent way more time than I would like to admit thinking about this, me and my new massive health pool of almost 1200 life dived back into the fight. And all of a sudden we were surviving hits, and our gear, skill and build check went from uncheckmarked to marked. We had passed the threshold of requirements to fight Tvakai. That didn't mean the fight was suddenly free or anything, but suddenly it felt very manageable, and just a few runs later, we did it. The Consumed was defeated, marking the end of Act 4, the final currently available act. So there you have it, my first playthrough of Path of Exile 2. So all in all, after beating the campaign, my main thing with the game is just the sheer information overload it throws at you all the time. And before you comment it, yes, that's a big problem for the entire genre, but it's even bigger here. The game just constantly keeps throwing more and more information and decisions at you, which ended up with me just randomly doing stuff and hoping it worked out. And while I'm sure that it's just customization paradise once you know all the bibs and bobs of it, starting out, this game is much rougher than any other game I've ever played. You're not just thrown in the deep part of the pool, you're being thrown into the deep part of the ocean. But I can honestly say that I fucking love this game. Even glimpsing into its possibilities like this on a first playthrough is just phenomenal. I can't wait to play the full version once all the acts and classes are out. For now though, I am going to get out of here, so thank you all for watching. As always, a big thank you to the channel and Patreon members. Don't forget to check the description if you want to help out the channel or want to find out what music is going on in the video. And I will see you all in the next one.